You're watching the TGM production.
Hello and welcome to a brand new series. Yes, a brand new series. Plus, if you were paying any attention to my last interview, this is the spin-off I was mentioning. Yes, we do a series called One Comedian, Eight Questions, and now we have birthed a spin-off. One performer, eight questions. The same format, but instead of comedy, it's about general performing. Because at the Edinburgh Fringe and the Edinburgh International Festival, and every festival that happens all at once in Edinburgh isn't just ha 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 comedy, but it's also many other different art forms because as you probably know, the arts is a multitude of things, not just comedy, not just acting, and not just Bob Ross spending 4 hours painting that one painting. How does he do that for 4 hours without any edits? I don't know. But I'm not Bob Ross or Bob Ross's child, so I'll never know. But we digress. My guest today is best known for being a performer, is one and only Sophie Methuen-Turner.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. So let's spin the wheel and see what our first question will be. Let's see what it'll be. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. In your own opinion, if you've been to Edinburgh before, either as either as a punter or as a performer, how do you think the Edinburgh Fringe can improve?
That is a very good question. Um, I think a lot of it is done online in terms of booking sales and tickets.
Yeah.
And I have found it a bit tricky sometimes to navigate the app and the online situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think that how do you think that they can improve that? Do you think there's another way of doing it?
I personally think it would be so much easier if they had perhaps more people helping out that you could go and book tickets from.
Yeah.
But then I do understand that the world has changed and everybody else is on the computer and everybody else loves apps. So maybe I'm in the minority, but for me, I just find it easier to walk in and purchase tickets, you know?
Yeah, and you mentioned there about everyone loving apps. I think companies love apps more than anyone else because you buy a product and it comes with an app. It's
Yeah.
it's, it's like a but it's like you watch something like the Gadget Show and they go, "Oh, this brand new thing, oh, it's amazing," but it comes with an app. You're like, "Oh, it's like a booing of an audience. Oh, not an app."
Yeah.
Um, it's the world's controlled by apps, um, which is really weird. But do you think that I think what they possibly could do, because the festival isn't just people in Scotland buying tickets, they could have like polling stations. Like 1 month in the year, they have like Edinburgh Fringe booths dotted around the UK,
Mm.
and so that people can go in and go, I want to buy a ticket, and it's like got all the posters on it, and you can buy a ticket, or you can like look online and go, oh, I want that one, and then they like find that ticket. Or, like it's like a travel agent, like a travel agent, but for the Fringe, I think would be an interesting way of making it more personalized because you can sit with a expert and talk about your likes and dislikes, and they can find a show that will match.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Yes, exactly. An old school travel agent
Yeah,
where, promoting the fringe would be fantastic.
yeah,
Because that is another issue while we're on that topic, is that there are so many productions, so many things going on and things to see, and knowing where to look and what to do can be very mesmerizing. But to some degree, it can be overwhelming.
yeah. And when you're looking at the website, and if you're a technophobe or not very good with technology, it's hard to find the show. And if you've been flyered, the poster's not going to tell you a massive amount. If it's like a play, for example, that's there's more words for that than could fit on a single poster. So so it
Totally.
would so it would help to be able to sell a show better because then you've got enough time to be able to explain
Mm,
this is what the
mm.
plot is. Do you like that type of plot, if you will? But on that note, let's spin on to our next question, which we definitely know is number two, but how long until we forget what number we're on? Who knows? So as a performer, there is millions of venues, not just in the UK, but around our circular globe because the Earth is round, not flat. What is your dream venue to perform in?
My dream venue around the world.
Yeah.
Well, let's have a think. I would like to perform, and this is just, I'd like to perform in Singapore.
Yeah.
Because it's the other side of the world. It's exciting. It's hot, and it's somewhere different.
Yeah. And are the venues massive, or are they like very like small venues?
Well, my understanding is there's a mixture in Singapore, but I would like to find their biggest venue
Yeah.
and perform in there.
Yeah, and I think it'll also expose yourself to a new audience that might
Yeah,
have not heard you, and it'd be interesting because I wouldn't be able to tell you if they speak. Well, they probably do speak English to an extent, but it'd be interesting from a culture point of view because you learn their culture and
yeah,
be able to add that to your performance in a way without being culturally sensitive, obviously, but doing it in a very much a safe way. But do you think that doing it in Singapore is not just there because you like the concept of it? Do you think it would be there to because you think it'd be a fun adventure to be able to do something that you've never imagined to do before?
yes. It would be the whole experience of it, getting feedback from a different perspective,
Yeah,
from an entirely different culture, from an entirely different mindset. Going to a completely different part of the world, bringing theatre there, seeing if the theatre that I've generated is relevant to their community. If it's
yeah.
not, why not? I find that kind of thing interesting.
Yeah, and you'll be able to do a survey and then
Yeah,
work out logistically saying, well, this really works in, let's say, I don't know why I'm going to mention it, but Hull, it works really well in Hull because it's this type of thing. But does it translate? And I think that's what's interesting because you get that a lot when you have like films that have been translated to other countries. It might not be the biggest reception because it might that those references might not work as well. And do you think that that's what's good about theatre is that it's easily adaptive because you can perform the same piece, but you can like adapt it to say, well, it this reference might not work for this audience, so I might have to research and speak to
yes,
people to find a better reference.
yes, and I would find that part of it fascinating.
Yeah,
Researching it, making it relevant for them, working out why something that I think is relevant is not relevant. And
yeah,
I would find that whole experience absolutely mesmerizing
yeah,
and incredibly exciting.
yeah. And would it like help you to improve your performance skill because you're learning new ways of articulating the words?
Most definitely. I think with any performer, there's always a danger that
Mm,
you see things with your own eyes.
yeah,
And so to have a second set of eyes, an entirely new culture, an entirely different demographic of person looking at your performance, adapting it to them is fascinating. And invariably, of course, it massively increases your own capabilities. It massively gives you a whole new perspective on your own performance abilities. Yes.
yeah. And so, on that note, let's spin on and find out what our next question will be. What will the wheel choose? Who knows? Like, oh, it's had a repeat. Let's spin again. This is what happens when you remove the fire from the app. Not physical fire, but digital fire. Ooh. At what point in your career did you find you could, when you were writing on CVs or when you were telling people what you did, at what point in your career did you decide you could call yourself a performer?
I think I did that from the off.
Yeah,
So I think so. Something that was very important to me is that I'm in a position where sometimes I have to do day jobs and
yeah,
sometimes I have to do acting jobs that I'd rather not do.
mm,
But to me, that was a mindset. So I made a point of saying to myself and in theory to other
yeah,
people, I'm an actor who works in mental health. I'm an actor who works in a rough sleepers hostel. So because for me, I had to feel like an actor. I had to believe that I was an actor.
Yeah.
Even before I was getting, paid positions, actively being selected, getting auditions, castings, things like that. So for me, it started in a slightly different way. It started as a mindset of I am an actor, I am going to do this, I am going to achieve. And with that sort of inner confidence, I suppose you could call it, with that kind of perspective, I found I became more successful. When I first started, I didn't have that mindset.
Yeah.
I had the kind of mindset that I was working in mental health, whatever I was doing.
Yeah.
But also I do a bit of acting. When I had that mindset, I think I wasn't quite as confident in myself. Perhaps I didn't quite believe in myself quite as much. And I found that I got less parts. But I think if you alter your perspective, if you believe I am an actor, this is what's happening, that for me was what turned it and what helped.
Yeah. And do you think that it also gave you a more relaxed opinion about the art form because you were less panicking saying, "Oh, is this really what I'm doing?" But you've already decided that is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And it sort of took away a sort of justification of, oh well, I'm doing this, but actually I'm really an actor. You know.
Yeah. And did it help you fall in love with the art form even more than you might have already done?
Most definitely. Most definitely. It totally unleashed it. And to a degree, it sort of managed a degree of imposter syndrome, I suppose. But yes, it unleashes kind of love for the industry that I didn't know I had. I connected with the industry that I wanted to be in a completely different way.
Yeah, and you felt like you were a part of it, and you could say, "Oh, look at my fellow actors, look at all my other fellow colleagues," which in an arts industry is probably the hardest word. Unless you're performing regularly with people, it's very hard to use with colleagues. Which I just think is the most hilarious thing ever because you could just name any actor like Michael Sheen, you could say, "Oh, that's my colleague," because no one would argue otherwise. Which adds to the whole comic value of the fact that the word colleague shouldn't really exist because not every industry has, unless you're working on your own, your colleague is yourself or your mouse. But on that note, let's spin on to find our next question. Let's see what it's going to be. So this is all. So you may or may not be able to answer this, but what is one key thing you would or wouldn't change about the first time you've ever performed at the Edinburgh Fringe, if you've ever performed at it before?
Well, this is the first year
Yeah.
that I performed at the Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah.
So I can only, so obviously because I haven't performed there, I can't tell you yet what I would have done differently in terms of performing. In terms of the pre, I think I probably would have tried harder for a slightly longer run, perhaps. I'm doing 5 dates. I'm doing the 5th to the 9th of August. I think I'd probably try for a bit longer.
Yeah. And have you ever been up to the Fringe before as a punter?
Yeah. Well, I work for Fringe Review, so I'm a reviewer.
Yeah.
So I've been as a reviewer, and I suppose to a degree as a punter, because when you're reviewing, you are there reviewing, but you are there as a punter in that regard.
Yeah.
But as an actor, no.
Yeah. And do you think that because you've been there and you've watched shows and you reviewed them, do you think you've learned ways of they've done it like that and wouldn't do it, and you've got a better idea of how you're going to do it?
Oh, most definitely. The first time that I came to review, some of the things I did was I tried to review something in all the key venues.
Yeah.
So I knew which venues were suitable, what kinds of things they had, what the kind of staff were like that worked there, the general kind of level of performance at the Fringe, how it worked, how people get reviewers. Because Edinburgh Fringe is it's very different to other fringes.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that the more experience you've got prior to performing, I think the better outcome you'll have because you've got all these ideas And do you think that when you were looking at venue, you could look back at your old reviews and go, well, that performer did this with the venue, so I think my
Yes.
show has similar sort of technical strengths to it, so I'll be able to that venue might work for me.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. And thinking about the structure of a play as well.
Yeah,
So, for instance, I went in several venues, and it was quite clear that they were unable to cater to in-depth technical
yeah,
things. Um, so it made me think in terms of my own performance. Right, okay, so this might be an issue in terms of Edinburgh Fringe. You know, perhaps having in-depth, really challenging technical kit and
mm,
projections and so on, and all different kinds of things might be a bit more tricky in
yeah,
Edinburgh.
yeah,
So most definitely going before is a must.
yeah. And do you think that that's one thing you would tell other people that might want to do the fringe to experience it before you
Yes.
decide if you want to perform?
Yes, 100%, 100%. I would never, ever, ever put somebody off performing in Edinburgh Fringe. I
Yeah,
think it's absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to do it.
yeah,
I would 100% say to anyone, though, who would really like to perform in Edinburgh Fringe and is bringing their own show,
mm,
it's I found it enormously helpful to go before.
yeah,
You know, as in the year before, to the Fringe, to see how it works. I don't think I could have done. I could have put on this performance having not been, or at least if I did, I'd have found it so much more challenging.
yeah. Yeah, and as a reviewer, you've sort of, do you think you've learned what the reviewers are after to get a nice review? You know what type of things they're looking at, and you'll be able to say, well, does my performance sort of do that, or can I sort of
Yeah.
alter it in any way to make sure that that reviewer it walks away with a happiness? Because you obviously you all want positive reviews, but you want to, but you know what, you've got an insider knowledge of how a reviewer's mind is.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I do. I'll be honest. When I create work, I
Hmm.
don't necessarily have a reviewer in mind.
Yeah,
So I try to generate. I've tried to generate a performance which I think is at a level
yeah.
to give to Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah,
But yes, I mean, of course you do consider reviewers, the kinds of things they might be interested in, the kinds of things they might shy away from, the kinds of things that might not work. But yeah, but generally, I think I want to produce a kind of work that is accessible to most people.
yeah. And so, on that note, let's spin the wheel again to find out what our next question will be. Let's see, will it be original or have I just jinxed myself? Oh, uh, now. As we've discovered that you've been up there as a reviewer
Yeah.
now, and so I'm not too sure if you've ever seen this because um turns out a lot of people that are involved in these type of things wouldn't have seen this program because either they're in the middle of it or they're actually on the program themselves. But do you think, from what you know of the Fringe going up there as a viewer, do you think that the BBC television programme Edinburgh Unlocked accurately represents the Fringe, or have you never seen Unlocked?
Well, I'll be honest, I haven't seen the show.
Yeah. Well, the show is hosted by Mark Nielsen, the Scottish comedian, and it's for three. I think it's on for the whole month, but I think it's like 3 episodes. Because I think a month is 3 weeks. I do know that. But he talks to people from the fringe. So it might be comedians, it might be someone a woman doing the Wheel of Death, or a mermaid, because why not? Or he might go in to watch a baby show to see what it's like.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the performers are not doing it to the babies, but it's like the babies are friendly, they're allowed in, and they're allowed to go goo goo gaga and all other baby accents that a baby they've got. But do you think that having a show on the BBC that represents the fringe in that way, where it's like not only is it saying, "Oh, this is what's on," but it's saying this is when it's on, this is what venue it's at, and it's giving you the rundown of what comedy's happening, what theatre's happening, what podcasts are on, and everything that the fringe has got, not just the fringe, but also the international fringe was having correspondents like other comedians going to the international fringe to watch a woman eating fire because why not? Do you think a show like that is really good for the fringe because it represents the fringe to people that A might not be able to make or B people that are on the cusp of thinking about coming?
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely, I think it's a very good idea. And something that can be an issue is where there's so many things to see, it can be difficult to know where to look and what to do. And
Yeah,
that can give an insight into what's available. But also it might include people. People might look at that and think, okay, they might have a preconception about
yeah,
what the fringe is and think, oh well, that's very nice, but it's not going to be for me. It's not going to have something that I find funny.
yeah.
But they might tune into that show and think, oh, actually, there is something for me there.
Yeah, and in the last two series, they've been adding these elements where because obviously Mark Nielsen's a comedian, he knows a lot of other comedians, so he's had sections where you've got like one-liners from comedians that may not have ever appeared on TV, and they give their first TV credit or a bit of their show, and I think that it really enhances the thing. So there's a comedian. Who I can't think of his name, but he's a blind comedian. It's not Chris McCausland. It's the other. It's the gag of where there's only two blind comedians. There's more than two, but that's the gang that runs. But Jamie McDonald, that's his name. I knew anyway. He goes to watch shows that are really visual to say, well, does it work for blind people? So he went to go and watch an immersive version of Train Spotting, and it's like really immersive, and he's there, or he's watching someone do like incredible stunts and whatnot. And then what they do afterwards, it's a performer comes to him and he says, "Well, what did I miss?" So what visually did I miss? And it's like selling the show. So the audience at home are watching bits of this performance, but they're also watching it from a person that can't see. And do you think that that's also really interesting because it represents that even if you've got a disability like being blind or deaf or whatever that's
Yeah,
hindering, you can still enjoy the piece because it is still for you. There just might be elements you might have missed, and
yeah.
that's expected. But do you think that that's good that the BBC are representing that in that way?
Most definitely. And I think that has been an issue. The issue of representation has historically been an
Yeah.
issue. Absolutely. Um, I also think there might be a wider concern
Mm.
around that people who, for instance, using your example of sight,
Yeah.
people who are fully sighted are
Yeah.
creating performances and trying to adapt them for people who may not be.
Yeah.
So I think to have an insight of somebody who is partially sighted and saying or and saying this works, we can still access this,
Yeah.
is a far better way of going about it and promoting the show and proving the fact that a show is inclusive or it isn't, as the case may be.
Yeah, and as a performer, when you go to these venues that are not the big ones that have got and Deck or whoever, and Duck's a really poor example, but like commentators in the box that are doing the audio description, when you go to those local venues, do you get told if there's anyone like partially sighted or blind or anything, so that you're aware when you're performing that you need to make sure that you're changing the way you're performing in such a way that they can still enjoy it if there's no access to the audio description or any other forms of access.
At the moment, I haven't had that happen. You can, when you submit your application to the Fringe,
Yeah,
you can state that you have accessibility aids
yeah,
to make the performance more accessible.
yeah.
So far, I haven't been contacted about somebody who may need different adjustments, but I imagine that would happen if that were the case.
Yeah, yeah, because I think that the problem with theatre in general is that it's from what I can gather, is that it seems to be like all the big venues have all the like audio description people and all this, that, the other.
Yeah.
And I think that what needs to be changed, and you probably agree with this, is that more smaller venues, no matter whatever they do, they need to find a way of making that work because I've heard from people that if you have an audio description person, you get more out of it. So it's like there was a performance of Matilda, for example, and there are this woman, I don't know who it was, but was getting given flowers, and the person behind went, and the person behind went, why is she getting flowers? And because of how incredible the audio description must have been, she turned around and went, well, it's her last night performing because she got told because they wanted to make it the most adaptable experience ever. And do you think that smaller venues, not just in Edinburgh but globally, will eventually do that? The more that people find out about what's in these bigger venues.
I think they're gonna have to, yeah.
Yeah,
Because it's a big thing that so many people are unable to access the theatre.
yeah,
And as a nation, I like to think that we're moving forward towards being more understanding and being more inclusive.
yeah,
So I like to think that venues will see it as a necessity, and they will see it as a positive necessity and a step forward, because that's what we need to do. We need to be moving forward to include people.
yeah. And then having subscription service like National Theatre at Home would also
Yeah,
be another big help because it means that people that can't leave their houses or are
yeah.
in care or whatever have got access. I mean, it's at the moment it's an extra. It needs to be a lot cheaper than it is, but it gives the people a chance to see
Mm.
shows that they wouldn't have been able to see before because either the show's finished anyway or they're unable to get there, and you can watch like Michael Sheen doing Nine Bevan if you wanted to, and you've got that opportunity. Do you think that's another step forward because that's now a thing that's not just one person filming it, but filmed in such a way that feels like you're in the theatre?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah,
Most definitely. And that's something that we need. We all need to be stepping up, to make sure that as many people as possible are included at any given time.
yeah. And so, on that note, let's spin the wheel to find out what our next question will be. Who knows what number we're on? Not me, because why would I? Ooh. So, after you've completed the Fringe and it's all done and dusted, will you be touring your show, or will you not tour it because you're then going to move on to your next project?
Well, we haven't got any concrete plans to continue touring it,
Yeah,
but we would really, really love to. We'd be open to touring. Is about a neurodivergent actor and the trials and tribulations of that.
yeah,
So it's a dark comedy.
yeah,
We think that it's accessible and appealing to a wide range of
yeah,
people, and that there's something in it that most people can relate to some degree.
yeah,
So although we haven't got any direct plans to tour it, we are in that process of finalising things and looking at different
yeah,
venues, different areas that we can take it to, because we think it's quite it'd be quite a good one to tour.
yeah, yeah. And I think that do you think that when you go on tour, will the show have to change because it's might not fit every venue, or do you think that do you think you can easily just hop into a van and go, let's book all these venues, let's drive off?
Well, when we were creating it, that was something that we were quite keen
Yeah,
on. We wanted it to be very accessible. We wanted it to have a minimal amount of props. We wanted it to have a minimal amount of set, a minimal amount of lighting, so
yeah,
that we could quite simply pack up and go to various different places.
yeah,
And also, we didn't, because we wanted it to be fringe theatre, we wanted it to be accessible.
yeah,
We didn't want to limit where we took it. We wanted it to be in venues above pubs. We wanted it to be we wanted it to be pretty much anywhere.
yeah. Yeah, and I think that's where good theatre comes from, is where it's in all these smaller venues, because
Yeah,
a lot of, if you think about some of, I'm not going to give any examples, so I couldn't give, but some like good, best known TV shows all started as plays in small venues and tried out. So I do
yeah,
think that it's what the industry wants. And when you hear about DJs and musician people, they want all these grassroots root venues to still
yeah.
exist. And I think if we have more theatre in there, it adapts it to mean that the venue isn't just for comedy or music, it's for
Mm.
all types of art. Well, I don't know if you could spend an hour in a pub, in the top room of a pub doing Bob Ross painting. I don't know how interesting that would be. Well, he managed to do it on TV, but most other types of performance art, as I'm now going to call it, works really well. And do you think that's what's good about doing theatre? It is that you can just adapt it to a venue because that's not just because you have to, it's also because you want to, and that's the joy of this art form.
Yes, most definitely. That is most definitely a joy that we have. And
Yeah,
that is something that we heavily focused on when we were creating it. We want to bring it to people.
yeah,
And we want to reduce as many barriers as we possibly can to the people that we're bringing it to. So part of that process is having minimal necessity lights, minimal amount of
yeah,
props.
yeah. And so, on that note, let's spin again to find out what our next question shall be. Let's spin. Let's spin. And that's a repeat. So let's spin. It's called fate. It's called probability. It's called the spinning powers of spinningness. Now, we've slightly already mentioned this, but in your personal opinion, from your personal experience of being a performer, how do you think performance and performing as a performer can be more accessible? Not just as a viewer, but as a actor, as a singer, as a whatever. How do you think that could be more accessible?
It's very tricky to make it accessible, isn't it, all the way around? Um, I think that at the moment, a lot of performing can be around
Yeah,
commercialization. So, for instance, to be an actor, you have to have professional headshots.
yeah,
You have to have a show reel. I think perhaps finding a way of making those kinds of kits more accessible, more affordable,
yeah,
would be beneficial, massively beneficial.
yeah,
Things like equity, you need to be in equity really because it covers you for public liability insurance. It reserves your name. You need to be in spotlight if you're an actor.
yeah,
Those kinds of things cost money. That's a lot of upfront money that you need to find, and that's before you start working, before you start thinking about any kind of working. So some way of making that more accessible.
yeah. And do you think the over-reliance on doing things like self-tapes is also a barrier because not everyone has access to materials to be able to record or to have
Yes.
good quality self-tape?
Yes. Yes. It self tapes do rely on you having and accessing the kit to it, the software to edit it, the knowledge
Yeah,
and the skill set within yourself to be able to edit it, to be able to splice it, to put all the information that they need.
yeah. But do you think that there's no direct way of making an audition accessible because the self tapes are not everyone can do it, but not everyone can then travel to
Yeah.
the place to do the audition. So how do you think what do you reckon the middle ground is? Because I don't know if there is a middle ground, but do you think there might be a middle ground to solve that problem?
Well, again, you're absolutely right. That is a big problem because if you go back to the original idea of auditioning, most people would have to take pretty much a day off, wouldn't they? Because they'd
Yeah,
have to travel to the venue, they'd have to then they'd have to do the audition, then they'd have to go back. So for a lot of people, even the old school auditioning is not particularly accessible either.
yeah,
A middle, so in terms of a middle ground, I'll be honest, I'm not sure what the answer is in
yeah,
terms of what a middle ground might be. Um, yeah, um, perhaps less of a focus on finance.
yeah,
Perhaps sometimes in Brighton, people have started various sort of communities where you can go and film yourself taped together.
yeah, yeah.
Things like that make it a bit more accessible.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that would open it up to your older actors that might not be good at technology and might not have
Yeah,
young family members knocking about, because the young are very good at I say young, it's anyone probably pre-70 can work a piece of equipment a lot faster, because everything in life technology wise gets smaller then bigger then smaller, and it's hard for anyone that was around before technology to
yeah,
understand what's going on, because one minute you might be on your flip phone, next minute you might be on a massive phone that's bigger than the Dom Dolly gang, or you might then have another smaller phone again, because technology goes forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards, which is personally a problem, because obviously you've got to get your head around it. And I think having a venue
Yes.
like that, do you think that more councils, more governments should fund those sort of venues so that for the arts, so that they're not just spending it on upgrading like theatres and whatnot, which is a good thing, but they also need to make sure that they can upgrade the arts in other aspects. But one of those buildings, I think having them in a lot of the bigger communities would really work. Do you think that that's what the Arts Council need to focus on, as well as everything else they've got to deal with?
Yeah, most definitely. I do think it's a good idea. I think it's really important. And I think if you looked at the wider sense in terms of the economy and so on, it would help overall, because it would enable more people to access work who can't currently get it due to an inability to access self-taping.
Yeah. And so, on that note, let's spin on and find out what our next question's gonna be. I'm doing the own jingle. Why? Who knows? And we've had a repeat, so let's spin again. That's what happens when you have a spinning wheel. Why did I decide to sing the words? Who knows? Not me. I started, so I have to finish. Whew. No, spin again. The wheel loves a good repeat. It's the joy of all. So, since your origins of joining said industry, which I'm going to call the arts because it's the industry as a whole, how do you think, from where you are now, how do you think the industry's changed or developed?
I think it's developed in terms of there's more representation on the screen,
Yeah.
from a wider range of people. So, for example, it's more common to see people from the global majority than when I first started in the industry, which was 15 odd years ago. It is more There's more of a conversation around accurate representation. So,
Yeah.
for instance, if there is so for instance in EastEnders,
Yeah.
there are a couple of characters who have an intellectual disability
Yeah.
and or who are neurodivergent, and both of those characters are played by people who are neurodivergent themselves. Historically, sometimes there wasn't that kind of representation.
Yeah.
So I think the industry has evolved and developed in that way, which is really, really positive, and we really want to keep that, and we want to continue moving in that direction. We want more visibility, we want more accessibility.
Yeah. Yeah. And because as an actor, you technically you could pretty much play most roles. But do you think that in because of the way that the industry's changed and shifted, and now more, let's say, like more disabled actors are now getting to play those roles, do you think that it was good? Do you think that it was all right for non-disabled actors to play those disabled roles, or do you think that that shouldn't have been a thing that ever existed, or do you think that because they're actors that we're giving them allowance because that's part of the parcel of a job?
I can see that as an actor, you train, and you should, and you it's a positive thing to have the capabilities to play someone with a disability. And I can see the argument that the best actor should be the role,
Yeah.
right? So whoever the best actor is should be that role. I think that how we previously were was there was a risk that there was not enough representation in the industry, and that people who were competent actors were being overlooked because of their disability, and there wasn't suitable representation going on in the industry. So for me, I'm delighted that people with disabilities are being better represented in the industry. I would argue that perhaps it was disappointing that,
Yeah.
that didn't happen before,
Yeah.
and that it should have happened before.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that we as an industry can reflect on that and think we got that really wrong.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't handle that in the way that we should have done, and that we move on, but we move on with the thought that this is what we did, we got it wrong, this is what we need to do, this is the right way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the step forward is to include, and I think
Yeah.
that now more than I think ever, and I can name two to be precise that represent disability on a level more than two, but that represent disability really well. So, for example, A Kind of Spark works really well because the writer of it is disabled as well as the actors, and so you've got
Yeah.
that sort of inclusion of that, and then Patience, which is based on a French program, but the actor that plays Patience is disabled as well. Do you think that that's what the industry is coming to terms with and realizing actually some of the best, some of the most interesting stories, the most different stories are from those people that are in that world 24/7?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Totally. And that actually people who may have a disability, yeah, they may have a disability, but that doesn't mean that they're not a fantastic actor.
Yeah, yeah, and you get some wonderful actors with having with having like shows now on TV like The Rapture, which was accidentally about the hottest summer ever, and then we accidentally had the hottest summer ever. But showcasing that not only showcasing that Ruth Basil is an excellent actor, but showcasing what it's like for people that have just gained a disability because obviously she wasn't a wheelchair user her whole life. Do you think that having that representation is good because it showcases that us as a society, we may not have fully changed our opinions, but that enough of it has changed so that we can represent it on TV and film and stage?
Yes, most definitely. And I think perhaps changing our outlook and our opinion might take a while.
Yeah.
So it might be the case that we have to take smaller steps before we go for an entire change in perspective. And maybe that's the first step.
Yeah. And so, on that note, let's spin again to our another question that at some point very soon I will remember, or I'll work out what number what act. And that's another repeat. So let's spin. This wheel absolutely loves a good repeat of a question. Why? Who knows? Ooh. So, who is one performer who and I know that not every touring show has support acts, but some do. What if you were on a tour that needed a support act of some sort? What one other performer would you love to be on tour with?
Any performer in the world that we could be on tour with.
Yeah,
Well, so that is a very good question. There's somebody in the Fringe called Madam is Old,
yeah.
and she's it's a comedy, and she makes songs about ghosts.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's absolutely fantastic,
Wow.
and we love her, and we'd love her to work with her. There's another group. They're doing a back behind the stage comedy of Behind a Murder Mystery.
Yeah.
Project M Productions, and they're very funny. We'd love to work with them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think that if you were making comedy songs about ghosts, there's a lot of material because it's very see-through. And it's very spooky. But it is one of those things. I do think that the horror genre in itself is perfect for comedy because obviously I don't know anyone that I don't think anyone can at this point in time permanently prove that ghosts exist. It's still in the it's like Loch Ness Monster. No
Yeah.
one can say it doesn't exist unless you've seen it, unless the person that's come up with the idea have gone, sorry, it was me. Then you don't know. And I do think that Ghosts is prime for not just comedy but for excellent theatre. You see like a live stage adaptation of A Christmas Carol, and the way you portray ghosts in that is like better than you've ever seen before. Well, everyone says the best version of Christmas Carol in the Muppets Christmas Carol, but no one can argue with that. Well, people can, but do you think that that's what's really interesting about the world of performing arts is you can choose any topic, and even if it might be like the most horrific thing ever, like murder mystery, that can still be comedy and fun because obviously cozy crime exists. And do you think that's what's good about the industry? Because anything that's traumatic can be turned into light-hearted laughs or really interesting and thought-provoking theatre.
Yes, and that's why it's so entertaining. And yes, absolutely, turning those kinds of really dark things. Madame Isolde's one of her songs is about a dog, a ghost dog. You know, so the death of your dog for most people is absolutely devastating. But to have turned it into a comedy song, it's fantastic. And yes, a murder mystery. You know, behind the scenes of a murder mystery. You know, you go to an event and somebody dies. You know, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
but the way that they turned it into a comedy is brilliant.
I just think that murder mystery works so well in different genres. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It is sidetracked, but it is the best thing ever. There was a program on Channel 5 called Celebrity Murder Mystery. Now,
Yeah.
these celebrities, one of them was Sue Pollard and one of them was the Reverend Richard Cole, so say what you know about the selection. But one of them gets murdered,
Yeah.
and they have to work out who the murderer is. But it's like
Yes.
everyone else are actors, and it's just like Sue Pollard and all the and like I think it must have been Sean Williams who was Barry from EastEnders, but they're all just sat at this dinner table. Everyone else is acting, and they're just sat there going, "Right, who's done it then?" And then because it's like it's a reality program, but less. You don't have the talking heads. You don't cut to a talking head. It's super hard going. I think you might be. And they really were immersed in this world of 1950s murder, and it's just super loud roaming about on Channel 5. And it showcases the murder mystery can be funny, because where else
Yes.
in life are you going to see super lads running around in a 1950s costume going, "Who killed the Reverend Richard Cole? Who?" Um, but murder mystery is one of those things that you can do a lot with, because obviously you don't have to show the horrific stabbings or blood. You could just
No, gosh, no.
you could allude to it. And do you think that's what's so that's why shows like The Mousetrap has lasted so long because you can show murder in other ways to make it less
Most
nightmare.
definitely. I mean, that goes back to the ancient Greeks and their theatre.
Yeah,
They would write about absolutely horrendous, grisly, awful murders
yeah,
and death, but you never saw it on the stage in their theatre. It happened behind. So because our imagination is so much greater than
yeah,
anything that we can physically create,
yeah,
and that's part of what makes it so entertaining.
yeah. And so, on that note, as we go for a spooky move on, we move on to our penultimate wheel-based question. And if you've seen the series, but if you've seen one of my interviews before, you could probably tell what's going to happen next. Let's find out. So, as we've already come to the conclusion, you've been up to the Fringe before as a reviewer.
Yes.
And as a performer yourself, what advice would you give someone who's thinking of taking something up to the Fringe to perform? What's one piece of advice that you cherish that says for anyone that's looking to do it or wants to get into performing at the Fringe, what's that piece of advice?
Well, I think first of all, before you do it, I would go as a punter
Yeah.
and see the different venues, see which you think is suitable for your performance.
Mm.
That's the main piece of advice that I would give. And then the second piece, because I accept that that's maybe not accessible for everyone to do that, and everyone may not be able to do that for one reason or another. The next piece of advice I would give would be do it.
Yeah.
You know, because you can sit there and think, oh yeah, I really want to do that. Oh, but it's going to cost me so much money. Oh, it's quite far away. Oh, maybe I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll do that next year. No, just do it. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that because of the way that because of the way of how expensive the Fringe is, I think that as a performer, you sort of feel more privileged to be there? Do you think that you cherish the experience more because you know that it's not accessible for everyone. You know it's quite expensive, but you
Yeah,
got this once in a lifetime or once in every year
yeah,
opportunity to do something you've never thought of doing.
yes. I cannot be more grateful for the
Yeah,
fact that I'm here.
yeah,
And I cannot tell you how grateful I am to pretty much anyone and everyone who in any way, shape or form has made it possible for me to be here.
yeah, yeah. And I do think that I think the Fringe what does really well is showcases not just British and United Kingdom and all that sort of
Mhm.
talent, but it showcases it's like on a world stage. They say that Britain's Got Talent's the biggest stage in the world. I would argue to say the Fringe is the biggest stage in the world because
Yeah,
you're representing the universe and everyone that loves performance, whether it's comedy, music, whatever, have heard of the Edinburgh Fringe or the Edinburgh International Fringe. And do you think
yeah.
that that showcases how much the arts is loved globally?
Yes, most definitely. Most definitely it does.
Yeah. And so let's spin on to our final wheel-based question. What is it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Let's find out. Do do
Final
do do do
question.
do do. Ooh. Now, in as careers go on, people have different ambitions in life. What is your current ambition for your career at the moment?
Well, my current ambition, to be honest, I think the main thing that has been my ambition for years is, in fact, to perform at Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah,
So, all being well, I'll be doing that on the 5th until the 9th, so a couple of days' time.
yeah,
After I've done that, that's a very good question because where Edinburgh Fringe has been the main thing that I have wanted for 30 odd years,
yeah,
I think it'll be quite difficult to top that.
yeah.
Um, I mean, I really like EastEnders. So I'd really like to go on there.
Yeah. Yeah, because EastEnders is it's one of those programs that like most actors at some point in their life, whether or not they've been a main character, has been in or
Yeah,
around it. And I remember hearing a story of someone was filming something else, and they had a lunchtime off, and they broke into the EastEnders set, and they're having a pint. They're having a pint in the pub because I don't know where they got the alcohol from. And the security guard then found out and started chasing after them. But they like broke off from another set that was like next door or whatever. I can't remember who it was, but I do think that's one of the greatest stories because nowhere else can you leave one set and just leap into EastEnders just to have a drink and then get chased out by a security guard. Nowhere else in life that ever happened.
and
But
that's exactly what you want to do. You want to make that
yeah,
mark, don't you?
yeah, yeah. You want to edge into the table. Oh, I
Yeah,
was here, and then they can't remove it because obviously they've got it in three different shots and they've not noticed.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I want a cup out of Kathy's calf, you know.
yeah, yeah. And do you think that well, why do you think a show like EastEnders is so popular and is so inspirational? Is it because of the setting, or do you think it's because the characters are so compelling?
I think the characters are quite compelling. I think because the program itself has been on the television in the media for such a long time,
Yeah,
I think that makes a difference. I think because it's prime time
yeah,
TV, I think they often get very well known people who make guest
yeah,
appearances on the program as well.
yeah.
They quite often have cutting edge storylines.
Mm, yeah, yeah, and they also have Phil Mitchell getting really excited over a chicken, which
Yeah,
I still think is one of those really weird things where you just see shots of just a chicken. You don't know why they're the chicken, but the chicken's there nonetheless. Nowhere else. Well, you probably would get like a sheep in Coronation Street, but I mean, just a chicken, just a solo shot of a chicken walking has got to be one of the top 10 greatest recent moments in EastEnders history because obviously Phil Mitchell being quite ill and then having returning cast
yeah,
members as ghosts and having Anita Dobson putting back on a wig that she probably hadn't worn in a couple of years. And I don't think there's many other dramas that do live episodes. I know casually sometimes does the unscripted ones or occasionally have like real life ambulance people in it to tell a true story that the episode based on. But I don't think there's many programs
No.
in on Britain that has those live episodes where you can vote for what's going to happen next, or you can hear Nina Wadina, uh, poor butcher of a name, accidentally say the actor's name instead of the character's name live on BBC One. And do you think that that's why the show is also beloved because of the fact that you can have these live episodes and it's like event television?
Yes, yes, it's very inventive television, and it's exciting. It adds a sense of excitement, and I think for me, so I lived in East London
Yeah.
for 4 years, so I love that. I love it when they make references to places that I know where they are and things like that.
Yeah. And so there we have it. We've reached the end of our wheel. Now, our wheel didn't choose our all-important question. And you know what that means? It's time it's a very good noise from me, to ask the all-important question. What is the title and premise of your upcoming Edinburgh Fringe show all about, please? Thank you.
So the performance is called The Quiet Between. The premise is about a neurodivergent actor, the trials and tribulations of a neurodivergent actor. So it's primarily a dark comedy. It's a series of sketches about different environments that I found myself in.
Yeah.
It does, at the end, have a particularly dark element to it, which is something to consider if you're thinking about attending the performance. And we are so fortunate that we are being supported by Survivors of Bereavement by Suicide, which is a nationwide charity.
Yeah. What age rating is your performance, and what date and time is it on?
So the age rating is 16 and above. But I would suggest if you find suicidal ideation, suicidal thoughts triggering, just to bear that in mind that might be one of the themes in it. So it's on the 5th to the 9th of August at 13:45, and it's in C Venues, Aurora Studios in Edinburgh.
And for anyone that wondering, whereabouts is the venue? If you could give a brief description, whereabouts is the venue?
So it's in Aurora. It's in the centre. It's just outside the centre of Edinburgh. Very, very close to it.
Yeah. And where can people purchase tickets?
So they could purchase them from the venue. They can go onto the C Venues website. They can go onto the Edinburgh Fringe website.
Yeah. And are you excited / or nervous about the upcoming performance?
Both. And I think both is a positive mix. Of course, I'm really nervous because I'm bringing this to Edinburgh Fringe. This is like the highlight of the whole of my career. I can't wait to bring it to you. We've worked really hard for it. But obviously, I am really, really excited.
Yeah. And are you prepared, or are you at this stage where you're panicking because you don't think you're as prepared as you would like to be?
Both. Yeah, I am prepared, but I think that you always want to be more prepared.
Yeah. And when people arrive, is that when you know it's real, it's going to happen, or are you already in your head?
Yeah, when people are there, when they arrive, that's when you know. Yeah.
Yeah. And are you one of those type of people that like the idea of peering through the curtains to see the audience, or are you the type of person that wants to just see them when you walk on stage?
Oh, I could peer through the curtains to have a look. Yeah.
Yeah, because I would think, and from experience, that would make you more nervous because you're like, oh, I can then see how many people are in, and you would freak out. But when you're at this stage where it's nearly time for the fringe, not trying to panic you or anything, but are you the type of person that looks heavily at your ticket sales, or are you just like whoever turns up turns up?
Yeah, no, I am interested in our ticket sales. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've still got some left. and we've got buy one get one free on the Thursday and Friday, so we've still got some to go. So please do come along and join us.
Yeah. And do you think that have you already thought of what you're going to do next year, or are you not thinking about that until this one's done and dusted?
I think just now we're thinking about this one.
Yeah, yeah. And are you going to have fun?
Of course we're going to have fun.
Yeah.
Of course we're going to have fun. We're going to have fun. The audience is going to have fun. Everyone's going to have fun.
Yeah. And so there we have it. We reached the conclusion of our one performer, 8 questions. Again, as we always mention, always mentioned over the last 3 versions of these, it is nearly August, but we do like, I don't know who we are, it is just me. We want to make it very clear we're not trying to make anyone panic further, because obviously there's a lot to do before Fringe, because obviously you have to actually get ready and you have to make sure you've got everything you need and you don't want to make any mistakes, because that's what it's all about. We would like to say, I don't know why I keep saying we, but it's probably the royal we, memoir. As the lights go out, it proves every point possible. We like to wish you good luck with your Edinburgh Fringe run, and we wish you all the success with your career, edging on further. And we want everyone to enjoy the Fringe, and please, if you can, head up to the Fringe. If you can't, well, hopefully you're watching Edinburgh Unlocked on the BBC or Next Up Comedy if you're into your stand-up. But this has been the inaugural, if that's the correct word, episode of One Performer 8 Questions, the spin-off to One Comedian 8 Questions. And yes, I will admit it right this second, One Performer 8 Questions has been a success and will return. Hooray! More promotion of more excellent performances or arts or whatever word you decide is perfect for that moment. Thanks for watching. Yep. Who knows how to end these things? Not memoir!